Path of Exile 2 has been out for over a month now, and as a new player, with over 200 hours in the game, here are 10 things I wish I knew from the get-go, plus a few more bonus tips, so stick around till the end. Without wasting any more time, let's get into it. Number 1. If in doubt, just read. I know it sounds silly, but if you don't understand the ability you're using, you won't be able to fully take advantage of it. So with everything in PoE, there is always more info. By simply holding Alt on most things, it'll give you some more stats. Like skills will show you the different stages of attacks and the damage conversion they create. For example, my Ice Strike skill has a conversion of 80% physical damage to cold. So you scale your physical damage to up your DPS, whereas holding Alt on some gear will show you all the stats in more detail, like the tier of the roll of the item stat and just how high the roll is. Again, for example, my staff has a tier 9 lightning roll, and within that tier has a very good roll. Also in the passive tree, you can hold down shift on most skills, and they'll show you how your stats will improve with the added node. There are some passives though that don't show any effect, and that doesn't mean they aren't doing anything, it just means they aren't directly affecting one of your skills. Like this freeze build up node showing nothing will obviously help with, well, freeze build up. Number 2, use the currency exchange. You unlock it when you finish the first 3 acts, and can use it to trade currency items for other useful items or to just flip currency, such as essences, fragments, and other bossing items. Then tons of other useful items that allow you to dive into the crazy world of crafting. But I'm not saying to do this for everything, but you should always consult it when you're selling or buying. Sometimes the item you're trying to sell is that little bit more expensive on the exchange, and it's pretty instant too. Also, not to mention some of the steals you can get on there, I've made a pretty penny just getting greater essences for gem cutters. So give the currency exchange a try. Number 3, use a loot filter. This is a filter you can get that will help you see the loot on the floor. You might not need this in early game, but late game, you need this. And you can customize it to your liking with websites like Filterblade. So you can make the items you're really after stand out, not to mention change the sound of some of the drops. Number 4, ask around. There's a global chat in the game, so use it. If you're not sure about something, and maybe none of your friends have got Path of Exile just yet, just ask the chat. Not sure if an item's good or worth your time orbing it, then I'm sure some undercover Path of Exile Pro will let you know. And just be warned, the levels of sass in the chat is unmatched. Number 5, check the vendors after each level up. Every time you level up, all vendors get refreshed, giving you another chance to get some high tier loot. And even if they're not the best gear, sometimes you can build on it to make it great. Number 6, leading straight from number 5, gambling. Sometimes it's just worth taking the risk. Gambling on gear can get you some crazy results. And I know you're technically losing currency, but who says you aren't just one orb away from a divine item? And let's be honest, it's fun too. Number 7, don't get stuck in analysis paralysis. I found myself sat in my hideout twiddling my thumbs, trying to make the most out of my loot and find out better ways to play. But at the end of the day, if you aren't mapping or trading, you aren't making anything. So get mapping and you'll be dropping divines in no time. Number 8. This goes well with the last, focus on one thing at a time. If you enjoy one type of content and it seems to be rewarding, go all in. If that's trials or a certain endgame content, the more you do, the more you get out of it. And some of the endgame content have odds to drop some of the best gear in the game. So what have you got to lose? Number 9. Experiment with your build. Let's be real, we all have builds from other creators online, but that doesn't mean you can't tweak it a little bit, just to suit you that little bit more. And sooner or later, you'll understand the game a lot more and have a build that feels more like yours, rather than somebody else's. And who knows, maybe you'll build your own. Also, don't hesitate to download Path of Building to help you with tweaking your build, so you don't just waste precious currency for nothing. Number 10, go at your own pace. We're all seeing players get to the end game and one-tapping bosses, but that doesn't mean you need to rush there and miss out on the experience of the game. Try have fun and enjoy the game. Nothing worse than skipping to the end when you haven't really enjoyed the journey. I mean, look at Elon.
My staff is only level 62.
Okay, dude.
Now some extra tips, organise your stash. Nothing worse than a stash looking like this, and if you ever have any money sitting around and you're planning on sinking some time into this game, get yourself some stash tabs. I highly recommend the currency stash tab, the premium stash tabs for trading, and a nice big quad tab for the glorious dump tab. Also, an added extra to the stash tabs, you can right click on the tab at the top to set affinities, so the tab will automatically store those type of items. Going more on trading? Use it. You can get some pretty diabolical gear for just a single exalt, sometimes doubling your DPS. And if you're a little hesitant, I understand, I was too, thinking, oh god, you have to talk to people. But honestly, everyone in the community is so nice, and the feeling of trading is pretty great, so it's a win-win. Just one suggestion though, take care when trading and double check the traded items. Some players might try to pull a fast one on you, giving you the wrong item or another type of currency. Next, don't grab everything. Sounds odd and pretty obvious. If you're a loot goblin like me, everything that drops you'll want to take, but you'll just clutter up your stash with unnecessary gear. Try and learn what your build needs and what is selling for more on the market. This is a hard one to get used to, but you'll get it in the long run. And the loot filter will also help with this one too. Now on to more endgame chat. When you're mapping, don't be scared to juice your map. The more they're leveled, the more likely you are to get drops with better maps, and the more loot you'll inevitably get. So make sure to craft your maps up to rare, and if you have enough currency, slam them with exalts. Then you can even corrupt them, risking them to get them better, or distill them to make them have extra stats. Just be warned though, this makes them a lot harder. This also leads well to utilising your towers on the Atlas map, and leans quite well to the point earlier about doing content you enjoy. Use these towers to max out an area on one thing. For example, if you were wanting to fight more breaches, hit up all the towers in the area with breach tablets. Then you can have a full area with tons of extra breach stats added to the maps, therefore making them more rewarding. And speaking of rewarding, when looking at map stats, look at quantity of items, rarity of items, and increased number of rare monsters. These will all directly affect the loot drops and density. Rare monsters drop better loot, and more rarity and more quantity sort of speak for themselves. Then finally, last tip I promise, use the Reforge bench. You get this by defeating the boss in the Molten Vault map and the axe, and this allows you to reforge items together to get a different outcome. So if you have 3 jewels for example, and they're all a bit shit, then slam them together to potentially get a winner. I hope these tips helped any budding PoE players, and subscribe for more.